In this lesson, we're going to start on page 17 of your textbook in the chapter Psychology, Dealing with Change. And in this video, we're going to focus on skimming and scanning. We talked about skimming and scanning. Remember that skimming is very important. It helps you to understand the text. It gets you ready to read. It's extremely important. So first, we're going to skim the text to see what it's about. And when you're in college and you have a textbook, you can look at the text, but also look at the pictures, look at the questions about the text. You have a lot of resources in a textbook, and you should use all of them to get ready to read. During this video, and during the videos throughout the semester, I will occasionally ask you to pause, that's P-A-U-S-E, pause the video to write in your notebook, okay? Because I'll be asking you some questions that you need to answer to have the answers in class the next day, okay? Let me show you what I expect you to do. Okay, so whenever you start watching a video, you should find a new page in your notebook, and at the top, you don't need to write your name because it's your notebook, but write the date. Okay, so for me, today is the 27th of May, 2015, okay, and then write the video name, okay? So this video is called Skimming and Scanning, pages 16 to 18. Okay, so write that at the top of your paper, and then when I ask you a question, you can just write an answer on the paper. You should always write in complete sentences, okay? So if it's a yes or no question, do not write yes. That's wrong, okay? You need to write a complete sentence with a subject and verb. So you could say, yes, I agree, okay? You need a complete sentence that begins with a capital letter and ends with a period. Alright? Okay, so every time you watch a video in that class, you need to have your notebook open. Okay, so like I said, before you start reading, you should always look at all the material that's in the textbook. So on page 17, we have a before you read activity with a couple of questions. Okay, and this is what I want you to write in your notebook. So number 1, how would you describe the glass? Is it half full or half empty? Okay, so in your notebook, go and write it is half full or it is half empty. Okay, if you don't know those words, look them up in a dictionary. Whoops. Okay. Now we'll go on to number 2. An optimist is a person who believes good things will happen in the future, while a pessimist believes bad things will happen in the future. Okay? So, an optimist is the opposite, O-P-P-O-S-I-T-E, opposite of a pessimist. And we have this word while. Okay? While means a lot of different things, but here it means the opposite. Okay? It's kind of like the word but or however. Based on, okay, so using this information, based on this definition, would an optimist see the glass as half empty or half full. Okay, so in your notebook, write number 2 and write a complete sentence that begins with a capital letter and ends with a period. Okay, pause the video to complete that activity. Now, let's look at the next quote. So this is a quote from Helen Keller, who was blind and deaf. She lived from 1880 to 1968, and she said, "When one door of happiness closes, another opens. But often we look so long at the closed door that we do not see the one which has been opened for us." Now, in your notebook, write A, and just write one sentence explaining what this quote means to you. Okay, what does this quote mean? So you have numbers 1 and 2, and then you have letter A in your notebook. Okay, so this quote means what? Explain what the quote means. Alright, now we're going to skim to look for what the text is about. Now, your textbook says that skimming, in order to skim, you just read the text as quickly as possible. But that's not really true. When you're skimming, you do not read every word. Okay? There are certain important parts of the text and of the page that you should look at. Okay? First, look at pictures. Alright, so here we have a picture. Okay? And what is this picture of? Who are these people? Where are they? What is on his t-shirt? Okay, so based on the picture, we can see it looks like they are in a sports arena. Arena, A-R-E-N-A, arena. And he has a football helmet, H-E-L-M-E-T, helmet, on his sweatshirt. So it looks like these are football players. Okay, so this is probably going to be a text about football players. And then the next thing you should look at is the title of the text, because that will often tell you the topic and perhaps the main idea. So the title will be at the top of the page, and in this case the title is right here. Okay, young football players injured but not forgotten. Okay, young football players injured but not forgotten. Alright, so I'd like you to pause the video. In your notebook, write the word injured and write what it means. Okay? And you may be able to just find the word injure. Okay? And then also look up forgotten and write what it means. Okay, so after you know the definitions of those words, you should understand what the title means. Now, you don't need to read every word in order to skim. I like to read the first and last sentence of every paragraph. This is one paragraph. So let's start by reading the first and last sentence of each paragraph. 2 moments have changed Eddie Canales' life. I could hear my teammates saying, "Chris, come on, let's go." Chris, now 26, remembered. And I couldn't move. Alright, so just from reading those two sentences, we know that this text is going to talk about two moments that changed Eddie's life. And, here his teammates are saying, "Come on, come with us, let's go." But he couldn't move. Okay? So if he cannot move, perhaps he is injured. Okay? Let's keep reading. At the hospital. Okay, so he's at the hospital. That should tell you he is injured. Something is wrong. Okay, and we can see that from this bold word here, right? Went wrong. Something is wrong. It's not good. So at the hospital, doctors told Eddie and his wife that their son had suffered a spinal cord injury. Now here we have this tiny number 1. You'll see this in a lot of texts. And what that means is the definition of that word is at the bottom. Okay? So if you go down to the bottom of the page, you can see here a spinal cord injury means damage to the long string of nerves that go from the brain down the back through the spine. So maybe you do not understand all of these words. But this is something that goes from the brain down the back. What important part of your body starts in your brain and goes through your entire back? You may not know the word in English, but you know what that is, right? You know there is something very important that starts in your brain and goes all the way down your back. And that is your spinal cord. Okay? It communicates from your brain to the rest of your body. So a spinal cord injury is very serious. Okay? Alright, let's look at the last sentence of this paragraph. You don't want to even think that your son may never walk again. Look at that. Your son may never walk again. Very serious injury, he said. That was a hard pill to swallow. Near the first anniversary of his injury, Chris was depressed. Okay? Maybe you don't know the word depressed. So let's look at the next sentence. To cheer him up, Eddie invited him out to do something he'd always enjoyed. Okay, so he feels one way, and then his friend takes him to do something that he enjoyed. So when do you ask someone to do something they enjoyed? A lot of times, if one of your friends is sad, you ask your friend to do something fun to make your friend feel better. So depressed means very, very, very sad. Eddie and Chris knew immediately that it was a spinal cord injury. Chris turned to me and said, "Dad, we've got to go help him," Eddie recalled. Okay. So Chris had a spinal cord injury. Now he and his dad are at a high school football game. And it sounds like somebody has a spinal cord injury, right? And he says, "Dad, we've got to go help him." So we're not reading every word. We're only reading 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 words. But we know the basic story. Okay, that's what skimming is. In that moment, Eddie's life changed again. he found his mission. Okay, so his life changed again. He found his mission. We try to provide information, inspiration, and hope, Eddie said. We want to make sure they don't feel alone. Okay, so we look at the word they, and this is a pronoun. Who is they? Well, we need to go back to the sentence before this. Okay, so Eddie helps the families face many emotional, financial, and practical issues, while Chris encourages and mentors the athletes. Okay, so they are helping athletes, and they are also helping families. Do you see that? So they refers to athletes and also perhaps families. Okay? So we were skimming the text for main ideas. And now let's go back and look at page 17, and I'd like you to do this in your textbook. Okay? So we already skimmed the reading for the main ideas, and then put this symbol next to the true statements in your books. So this story is about 1, someone who likes football but cannot play anymore. 2, how a father helps his son. And 3, a group that helps young injured football players. Okay, so you may need to go back and look for more information, but you should have a basic idea of what the text is about. Complete these questions in your book.